Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Flower Power Cruise Q&A, talking about the roots of rock. My name is Joe Johnson, your music host on board the Flower Power Cruise and often on the Rock and Romance Cruise. Even made an appearance on the Disco Cruise not too long ago. So I just love music. Grew up listening to Top 40 radio in South Florida. Eventually became a DJ on the radio and played a lot of the music of this guest that I'm going to be introducing here in a second. But the great thing about music, and this is what we love about the Flower Power Cruise, is all these songs trigger a memory, whether it's your growing and coming of age years, going steady at the prom, or getting married, having a baby. All of those iconic moments in your life are represented in music. We have a guy here who really was there for some of the most incredible songs in the history of pop music. Jim Yester, guitarist, vocalist, songwriter, I hope too, and he's from the Association. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Joe.
It's great to have you here on this edition of the Q&A on the Flower Power Cruise. And I want to talk about the roots of rock. So in your case, kind of your early interests in music. What was the first instrument you picked up? Was it the guitar that you started playing?
Actually, the first thing I learned was harmonica. I used to play the harmonica on the way to school, and just straight harmonica, not blues harp,
Right.
and play things like "Oh Susanna" and stuff like that. But my dad was a professional musician. He was a freelance piano player, and he and a partner ran an accordion academy in North Hollywood. And I grew up in Burbank, and walking to school, to St. Finbar's school, playing a harmonica. But
You didn't play the the big instrument you just mentioned? That was only the harmonica. That was how you started, basically.
Yeah, just the harmonica. But then when I was in my teenage years, I was part of a falconry club. And one of the guys in the falconry club, who was older than me by about, I don't know, 8 or 10 years, was from Southside Chicago, and he played boogie woogie piano. And there was a piano music room in the back of the garage where we had the meeting. And he would go play boogie piano, and I would sit there and watch him for hours. And when he'd get up to go get a beer or whatever, I'd sit down and try and do, some of the stuff he was doing. And little by little, I started picking up, and so boogie piano became, really my first frame of reference for, something besides harmonica.
And so, as your influences as a boogie pianist, was it like Fats Domino, Little Richard, or was it more of the pre-rock and roll stuff?
Pre-rock and roll. It's more like Freddie Slack, Meadlux Lewis, those kind of guys. And then actually the first concert I ever went to was Fats Domino.
Okay, that's a
at the Olive Recreation Center in Burbank.
Did you get a chance to meet him after the show?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No, I was much too shy.
You were too shy. Come on, Jim. So how did you become a member of the association? Because the very, very beginning of the group, you kind of jumped in like about a year into it, right?
No, actually 2 weeks after the group was formed.
Oh, that's soon.
I replaced one of the guys who wasn't working out. He was a banjo player, and unfortunately had an attitude, and so they were looking to replace him. And I was doing an audition out at the Ice House in Pasadena. A couple of the guys were there, left me a note, and I called them the next day, went over, and I sang for them, they sang for me. And afterward, we worked on a couple of tunes for a while, and then Jules pulled me aside and said, come back in 3 days, and this guy will be gone, and you can move in. There was four guys living at this house, and so I moved in after 3 days, and that was, the group had not performed anywhere and didn't perform for the next 6 months. So we spent, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, working on the association.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I thought I didn't realize it was that early on in the band. But the first hit for the association, I mean, kind of anchored you guys as almost like a psychedelic group, right? Because Along Comes Mary was your first big hit, right? Number one hit.
That's right, and I sang the lead on that. and
That's fantastic. Yeah.
with two overdubs of myself.
Okay, that's fantastic. So then you played the Monterey Pop Festival. Is that because of that song kind of gave you guys the like an edge in a way with those types of bands?
Yeah, and that was a great experience. Well, we were getting involved at that time with Bones Howe, and he was one of the people involved with putting that on. Uh, he and Lou, and so we were fortunate to. In fact, as a matter of fact, we were the first group on
You opened. That's right. You opened the show.
the festival, and Pennybaker didn't think we belonged, so he didn't shoot us.
Oh, so you're not. But I think there is a DVD somewhere of your performance.
Yeah. He got some of the later stuff. He got the Association Machine, Into Along Comes Mary, but we opened with Enter the Young, and so that was unfortunately never recorded. But anyway, it was quite a wonderful experience, and we certainly treasure that.
Did the band feel welcome or at a place? Were you guys partying with everybody backstage? What was the
Oh yeah,
atmosphere?
oh yeah, it was very comfortable. I mean, the first thing we did, we went to lunch with Hendrix.
Oh, you got to tell me that. Do you remember what he ate? What he ordered?
No. I don't even remember what we ate.
So was it a diner kind of a place or like a little roadside bar or what was it?
Oh,
Where did you
no, it was a tent in the backstage
go?
area.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Like
like a
where all the artists.
mess. Yeah, mess area for the artists.
What do you remember about Hendrix?
Well, I remember that he blew me away, and we did several shows together later on, and so that was great fun. But yeah, um, I I suspect that we were in the All Army Entertainment contest together in Germany, and all through the contest he played. He had a trio, and he played Moonlight in Vermont, and then the night of the contest he did the Star Spangled Banner thing and blew everybody away. But
So at the Monterey Pop
I'm
Festival,
assuming
go ahead. You're assuming?
I'm assuming that was him. Now I've heard tales that there was another guy in Germany that he kind of purloined that from, but I have no real information on that.
Yeah, well, he certainly played it at Woodstock, right?
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So Hendrix actually ended up opening up for the Monkees, and I guess by the Monterey Pop Festival, he had done that maybe around that time or the year before. He was still becoming popular. That's a little odd pairing, isn't it, to Hendrix and the Monkees?
Well, it's when you have pairings like that, it's like something for everybody.
Okay.
It's not like it's just like we used to. When the Who first came over, they opened for us for a couple of weeks on a tour that we did, and a couple of guys said, "Geez, how are we going to follow them?" And but they do what they do, and we do what we do, and it was a great package.
Sure. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Just don't let them borrow your instruments, okay?
Yeah, right.
We know how that happens. So was there ever a chance, since we're kind of segueing into Woodstock, the association getting invited to Woodstock? Was that something that was going to happen? You were having a lot of hits by then.
Yeah, we got invited, but our manager turned it down. He said, "Nah,
Really?
you're not gonna make any money out there. It's out in the sticks," and very, very short-sighted. But that's what happened. But we did get invited.
Wow. Were you disappointed then that you didn't go, or did you think, well, maybe this is
Well,
better that you don't go out there?
we did. After seeing some of the footage and film from there, we were kind of glad we didn't go. But I think if we had gone, we were starting to dress a little different by then, and I think we would have fit in more, and
Yeah.
it probably would have been cool. But that hindsight is 2020.
Wow. How did you get recruited then to sing the lead on Along Comes Mary? I mean, there were a couple of lead vocalists in the band.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, everybody sang lead and everybody sang background, uh, but our music director at that time, and probably still has a lot of influence in that way, is Jules Alexander. At that time, Gary Alexander, and the guy that wrote the song and did the demo which Jules played on. Jules played bass on the demo for that song. Had a very high voice. Kurt Betcher, who wound up producing our first album. And since he had such a high voice and I was the highest voice in the band, Jules said, well, why don't you sing it? So I sang it. And after a while, nobody knew the words but me.
So how did you enjoy the legend that goes behind that song all the time? I almost don't want to ask you because I don't want you to ruin the moment for me, but that whole Along Comes Mary fitting in 1967, everybody was a token, and there was that opportunity to align the song with those facts. And then there's also a woman named Mary.
Yeah. We were booked to play a grad night at Disneyland. And when we got there, the security met us and weren't going to let us in the park because you do their drug song. And our manager just happened to have a clipping from a paper from Mount St. Mary's College, and the senior class had chosen Along Comes Mary as their song for the year because they interpreted it as being about the Virgin Mary. So
wow. There you go. That's a great little bit of info to have in your hip pocket when you're getting turned away at the gate.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully, when you get to the park, you'll be able to pull that one out too, I guess.
Yeah, it's basically social protest. That's what Tandon, the guy who wrote it, said. It's not saying, hey, let's all go out and smoke pot. It's just saying we should have an even playing field, with pills and alcohol being legal and marijuana not being legal. That's kind of basically what he was saying.
Yeah, I was hoping you had your guitar, but I understand because you're holding your video. All of your songs have such unique intros. I mean, when I hear the beginning of Never My Love, I only have to hear like the first three notes to immediately take me back to that.
Yeah, the dum 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 dum.
Absolutely. Bum, bum,
Yeah.
bum, bum, bum. Now, give me a little background on that song. I know that in the band, some of the band members were writing music too.
Yeah, we all wrote, but the two brothers who were staff writers for our first record company were the Adristi brothers, Dick and Don, and in fact, we did one of their songs on our first album called "Go Blame the Rain," and they would come over to the house and knock on the door, and we'd open the door, and they'd be sitting, one behind the other, and then row into the house using the guitar as an oar, and they would say, we got a great song for you. And so that's how we heard Never My Love the first time. They came in, sat down on an amplifier, plugged in, and played us Never My Love with the two of them singing. And
that's a very Monkees thing to do, come in with an oar, on the side of a boat.
Oh, they were great. We called them Frick and Frack. They were like the Magpies.
Wow. And that song, of course, crushed it. I know that, I think I read it, it's like the second most performed or played song in rock history. It's just incredible.
Well, in a way, in the BMI catalog, it's the number 2 played song. Yeah. First on that list, of course, being Love and Feeling, and then Never My Love, and then Yesterday. So that's good company.
You're a notch above
Yesterday. To be with, yeah.
That's pretty good. And of course, you guys were on the charts at the same time. I mean, pretty much from Sgt. Pepper all the way to the breakup of the band. I mean, it's tough competing against a lot of those acts in the late.
As a matter of fact, there was a big poll in the Midwest. One of the huge stations they did every year. The best group of the year, and we were the first ones to beat the Beatles on that, and must have been '67, I believe.
Yeah, wow, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So let's talk about Cherish, because that is one that I guess in that time period and even later years is like the last song of the night. And well, Never My Love is too, but both of those are songs that have been to weddings and have been to celebrations of love between couples. And I'm sure it's one of your most requested songs, right?
Yes, it is indeed. That and Never My Love. Cherish and Never My Love, when we start those songs, you can feel the reaction from the audience. It's so visceral. And sometimes I get so choked up I can hardly sing. But yeah, Cherish is such an incredible song. It has two bridges,
Okay.
which is very rare. And it must have, sometimes it feels like it has 1,000 chords, but I'm sure it doesn't. But when Terry was writing that, he approached our publisher and said, I'm fooling around with this song called that I want to call Cherish. And the publisher said, oh, no, 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 that word is too archaic. Well, we just proved that we can have archaic and eat it too.
Bada boom. That's great. That's awesome.
But I want to tell you.
I'll be here all minute to try the veal. Tell me about performing those songs in concert. Do you sometimes, especially with Along Comes Mary or even Windy, which I want to talk about, do you guys feel like to do an extended version, or do you like put the songs together and do a medley, or are you pretty true to the originals?
No, we're pretty true to the original. Along Comes Mary, we've stretched a little bit. The intro is like 8 bars longer, and the instrumental is 8 bars longer. But other than that, it's just like the record.
I love the ending. As a guy that played the song on the radio hundreds of times, though, sweet as a bunch, you're always like, I'm waiting for it to end, and before the days of
it's one of the few songs that has a definitive ending.
Yes.
Sweet as a punch.
That's all right. Fantastic. Everything That Touches You, that was a beautiful song too. I mean, you guys really got into that whole romantic feel for listeners and fans and couples. I mean, you really did. You really got into that.
Yeah, and the A&R guys, at the radio stations, when they wanted what we called a rich, warm brown, something lovey and stuff like that, they would reach for us. But then when we started going out of that, they stopped playing us. So it pigeonholed us to our own demise in a way.
I mean, if you think about it, and we talked about the Beatles, they had a similar problem. She Loves You and all those poppy songs, into Within You, Without You, and Sgt. Pepper, and people saying, oh, they're too weird for me now, and then but that's the evolution of creativity. I mean, you can't stop what's speaking to you.
Yeah, everybody grows, and with the growth comes changes. But we still had fun. We recorded some great stuff that I still love to this day, that didn't wind up as hits, but great song, great music. And every now and then, somebody will post something of ours on Facebook that I haven't heard in a long time, and it blows me away. I said, "Oh my God, that's great."
Well, it's funny you talk about that. I was looking at a video recently of you guys when you were on with Dick Clark, American Bandstand, the 1981, I think it was. You had this like gigantic head of hair, Jim. You were like the. I mean, I don't know where you grew that, but that was great, man.
Yeah, that was my wife's idea. She said, well, Richard Chamberlain did it. You can do it, because you have the same jawline.
Well, everybody's wife helps them get ready. I can attest to that. So that's interesting. Let's talk about Windy, because that was like a Southern California David Crosby. It was Ruth Ann that wrote that song?
Yeah, Ruth Ann Friedman. She was kind of she was a fellow songwriter, a guitar player, and usually wrote these really avant-garde songs, really out there. In fact, we did one of her songs. It was, it was really cool. We never recorded it, unfortunately. But anyway, she, when she first came into LA, she wound up sleeping on our couch in the front room for about, I don't know, 2.5, 3 weeks, until she found her own place. And then one weekend she went up to San Francisco, and she was up there a couple of days. She came back and she said, I wrote this kind of contemporary little thing. You guys might be interested. She sat down on the kitchen floor and played it for us, and we went, wow, that's kind of cool. So we were just getting involved with Bones Howe at that point, and we wound up showing it to Bones, and he said, I think I have an idea for that. And he and Ray Pullman had a great idea for it and just kicked it when they went in and did the basic track. So once we heard that, we said, wow, that's great.
It's got that iconic intro too, that very sparse, lead guitar. It's at a
Yeah,
lead
yeah.
guitar. Yeah, just
It's
fantastic.
actually about 5 instruments that are doing that figure, but they're mixed so well you can't really tell what it is. It's harpsichord, it's bass, it's guitar, and I think there might even been something like a centuri or something like that in there.
That's very Brian Wilson of you there, Jim. That's a great piece of the studio.
Oh, we use theremins and all kinds of stuff like that.
So what is your show like today? I mean, obviously it's hits. Do you show videos of the time? What do you do on stage?
We have a video intro
Okay.
that's like 7 minutes long, and it includes that Dick Clark footage. So I get to see my big hair. But we start off with a couple of the hits. We do a few things of other people's, like we do one song as a tribute to the Mamas and Papas because we toured so much with them and became so close to them. We do one of their songs, California Dreamin', and we do Walk Away Renee, but we recorded that in 1980, and it's considerably different than the other version of the Left Bank. But mostly we do our songs, songs that may not have been monster hits, but songs that we love, like Just About the Same, because we like what it says. Everybody is just about the same, when you finally see From Where We Came. So we love things like that, but basically we focus on the hits, and we use them to to showcase the vocals and that kind of thing. And I do a comedy song, a parody of Desperado called Avocado.
The Eagles' Desperado, right? Yeah.
But
Eagles, yeah, right, exactly.
yeah, it's a great show. We have so much fun, and we're always laughing because we always crack each other up. And we have so much fun, we feel if we have fun, the audience has fun.
Yeah.
And
Well, I know
we tell stories.
Yeah. Yeah, we had you on the Flower Power Cruise a couple of years ago, and I mean, your performance was really the highlight of the cruise. I mean, the whole theater was packed, and you guys, like you said, you told stories and played all the hits and bantered about and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So what is your life?
And people
Go ahead.
people always tell us, they love to hear the stories, the little insights and things like that. And, turnarounds where we're saying one thing to another, it's good fun. We started as a concert act, not a recording act. We played concerts for a year before we had, hit record. So that was our frame of reference, was entertaining people. And that's what we still believe in.
And the concerts you played, were they like theater-sized concerts, or were they festivals, or were they pubs, and what type?
Everything. When we started out, they were, small folk clubs where you had theater lighting and individual microphones and a guy mixing it. I mean, it was very theatrical. We did skits and bits, and if somebody broke a string, we instantly went into a bit strings being repaired. So there was never a dull moment. So that like I said, entertaining people. We never wanted to be a physical jukebox where you just stand up there and play the music. We want to, entertain the people, make them laugh, make them happy, make them sad. We did all kinds of different things, and still do, a great deal of that.
Well, tell me a little bit about you. Where are you living? What do you do in your spare time you have a lot of spare time, like a lot of us do. But what do you love to do?
Right now, I have a lot of spare.
Exactly. Well, this is the time to write those songs that you've been talking about.
I live in South Jersey. I've been here going on 25 years now. 26 years. And I live in a golf course community, but I can't afford to play golf here. But it's real peaceful. It's beautiful. And my spare time, I love to fish. I love to, I've got a bicycle. I try to ride around a little bit. My wife and I, like to travel, go up to other places in Jersey. She's got family up in Red Bank, which is about an hour from here. So we go up there. We enjoy being where we are.
Well, my wife's from Cherry Hill, so I've been to the Cherry Hill Mall. I've driven past it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, going up 73.
Yep, and taking a little bridge over to Philadelphia. So yeah, it's great. So well, we're excited to see you again on the Flower Power Cruise. Wow, with all these stories now, you may have to ditch that 7-minute intro and let me come out and tell some jams with you guys. Tell some backstories. But well, it's great. I want to close out. Just give me your best memory with the association, either recently or from the original days.
Oh my God. Probably concerts like Ravinia in Chicago, where the Kingston Trio had held the attendance record there for like 20-something years, and we broke their attendance record. That and places like Tanglewood, playing in Hawaii. I lived in Hawaii for 8 years. I left the band for a while and I lived over there and spent several years with my brother's group, the Modern Folk Quartet, and did several CDs for the Japan market. But, I came back to the association and boy, it's definitely home. I mean, we spent more time with each other on the road than we did with our families. So, we're really kind of like married to each other. It's kind of cool.
You talked about these demos before we close. I know we're running out of time. Did the band ever put out like a retrospective with some of these song demos, the early versions of Along Comes Mary and Windy and some of the live stuff?
No. Rhino did a disc thing, but it was all stuff that we had recorded, not demos. That's an interesting idea. I should talk to Jules about that.
Yeah,
but getting our hands, getting our hands on some of that stuff is the hard part, because all of us have moved around so much all over the country that when you move, you lose stuff, and the stuff gets sent away, to the family or whatever, and then they lose it. And
is that how that saying came up? You move it, you lose it. I don't know if that's how that came up. Listen, that's how I find it.
No, that's use it or lose it.
Oh, use it or lose it. Yeah, well, so I will tell you that for me, the associations, I have I was looking at my CDs the other day. I've got Herb Albert, America, the Association. So alphabetically, you're number 3 in my rack up here. But
cool.
Definitely bring back tremendous memories for me, and especially seeing you guys play for us and goof around. I love the stories. I almost could enjoy a show with just stories, but certainly the music is perfect. So.
Yeah, I tell you, we're really looking forward to this, doing the cruise. It's going to be great to be back.
Jim Yester, the association. It's been so awesome to have you on the show and on the Q&A here and the Roots of Rock. And you're a funny guy. I can't wait to see you again in person. We'll have some fun.
Thanks, Joe. It's my pleasure.
I want some Hendrix stories that didn't make it to the Zoom meeting here today. So next time. All right, Jim.
All right. Take care, Joe. Thanks.
My best to the band and your family in this time. Okay?
Thank you, sir.